everybody. Welcome back to the Freak Show. This is part 2 for Men's Mental Awareness Month. I have Robert up in the top here. I have Daniel in the corner, and I have Casey on the bottom. Long story short, we've all served together in the military within the past 13 years. Robert and Casey have gotten out of the military. Daniel and I are still in, and we're just going to kind of continue to talk about this mental health for men, because as like Daniel and I discussed earlier, it is something that is not talked about through in person and in the media. So we're going to kind of dig ourselves and broadcast this out for all you fine people watching. Robert and Casey, welcome to the show, you freaks. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah.
All right, so Tolan's just like, you son of a bitch, calling me a freak. Anyways, can you guys talk to us about the mental health? You can share if if you've had any problems, like how you seek help, or if like how it's treated you since getting out after being, when you got out, 8 years ago? It's been, I feel like, for the both of you. So it's been a little bit of time. Kind of talk me through like mental health issues, problems, just anything related to the sort. Because I know we were talking offline. You guys had a couple stories you wanted to share. Would really like to hear them.
Yeah. Hey, Tolan, you want to? I led the first time. You want to go this time?
Yeah, I can start.
We'll flip a coin.
I think I have a little bit different perspective on mental health. And the reason I say that is when I got out, I had my nonprofit. So I had huge support. I mean, there was hundreds of people at the airport when I got back from serving. It was great, right? I had all this support. I think that led to bigger issues than I expected. It just prolonged issues that I personally had. So, or the reason I say that is because of running nonprofits, I became the guy that everyone came to when they had issues, and I was outsourcing, like, hey, go to this organization, go to this organization, or I was going at midnight to be with them, or we were getting calls from the local police department because someone had a mental breakdown and they pushed their wife or something, and so instead of throwing them in jail, we work with our law enforcement agencies here so we can go pick him up and we'll take him to a veteran house.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what it really caused was me to just keep drinking and drink more. I drank more than I was in the military, and it just blew up one day. And I can remember it was August of 21, if I remember correctly. It was when we pulled out of Afghanistan. When was that? August 21, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, it shit the fan. I got home and my alcohol beverage, Jack Daniels and Dr. Pepper. I know you guys remember. Was always my go-to beverage.
Yep.
It wasn't made, and I flipped off on Vanessa. I mean, I went off hardcore. Like, I didn't hit her or anything, but like emotionally, I went after her for not being ready, called her names, and I just from there, just for several weeks, I just went downhill. And it sucks because we're in the month of June. We're in Men's Mental Health Month, and I saw a video, and I don't know if you guys have seen it, and this is what brought the subject up, but it's that video where it talks about men's mental health, but how it's never discussed. Everything else is being discussed in the media, but men's mental health isn't. And I think that's something that needs to be talked about more because we're just expected to raise our families and work and not really have anything affect us, just keep going. And honestly, it broke me down in August of 21. And it still took me a year to actually go seek help. I had great people finally come to my attention, other people who ran nonprofits who, were like they keep telling me, even to this day, they tell me sorry, like, oh, we never looked out for you. We never looked out for you. We're kind of the one, locally that was on the top of that, and we never thought about asking you how you guys were doing. And so it wasn't until January of this year that I decided to go to an organization called the Mighty Oaks Warrior Program, and it completely like changed my life on how I handle everything. And it's so important to go out and seek that help that you need, and talk to your spouse or your girlfriend or even your parents. I remember my parents would always, especially my mom. You guys all know my mom. Mom and Tolan always be like, "Are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay?" "Yes, I'm okay." And then like forget the subject. So I mean that's kind of my perspective on it. We do so much here locally, but I think everyone needs to make sure they focus on themselves as well and take that break. My whole company got fired in January, and I decided to take 4 months off and focus on myself and family before I got hardcore back into working again. And honestly, that really paid off.
That's really good. I'm glad to hear that you're doing better. You look great, and
Yeah,
I'm glad that you, because I know how much that you specifically help out people, but I think that like people almost forget to ask you if you are okay. You know what I mean? Because you're always the one to text to call, or to see like, hey, how's everything going, man? You good? I just don't think enough comes around sometimes, and I'm glad you were able to
and
reach
I
out.
think COVID really shot that off too because the worst thing you can do is throw a bunch of vets and tell them to stay in their house. That's the last thing that you can do to any of these guys. You know what I mean? That's when suicides went up and all these issues, abuse, all that, and it's all related to mental health, and it just sucks that we got crazy busy. And then we were responding to the riots going on around here locally and trying to get that fixed. And then yeah, just when they pulled out of Afghanistan, I had several people I knew. I still know people who are currently over there. You know, they're not there, but they're there type
Yeah.
thing. And they got killed, and then I'm like, what the heck? Yeah, it just you know, it comes around, and I'm grateful for the people that like you guys. I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for everyone who's come around and has helped me through the process.
All right. Casey, you got a
All
story you
right.
want to share?
Oh yeah, you guys ready to get a little dark?
Oh God, yeah, we're ready.
Yeah. So yeah, I transitioned in I think my last I think like it was like June or July of 2016. I transitioned out. Uh, went up to Utah and whatnot, man. Like probably like a month after my transition, man, I started seeing some like real issues start popping up just kind of in my head and just kind of pushing them to the side and stuff like that. Um, like Tolan, man, I drank more than I thought I ever drank. I would drink in my entire life. I'd always go down to the Wee Blue Bar there in Payson, Utah, and drink drink Oldies. I don't even think they make Olympia beer anymore. But yeah, it got to the point where it was severely hindering my ability to function outside of the home. Right, my work started suffering. Uh, I couldn't keep on top of bills and stuff like that. I think one of the biggest issues I had, right, is that I went uh, you know, from the organization being able to walk down and bang on your door. That was my way of coping with that stuff, was saying howdly diddly neighbor,
Yeah,
and grabbing a beer and just that brief human interaction and
yeah,
stuff like that was my therapy when I was in, and then it was nothing, right, and that was really hard for me to comprehend. Um, but yeah, it got worse. I mean, I went into I was contracting with a private security group that was we had a contract there with a government agency out there in Utah, and it was just starting to affect me to the point where like, hey man, I might start showing up drunk to work because I really hate this. Which I had a gun on my hip, which would probably be the felony or four,
yeah,
if that kept on. But I left that job because I just started having just I just started breaking down psychologically and stuff like that. As we went from what playing Xbox every single night to I just shut off my phone and shut off the Xbox, and I wasn't around for about 2 years.
yeah,
Uh, so I actually went up to the mountains. I wrote down a note and stuff like that, and I was actually just gonna call her good, because I felt like, hey, everyone's just looking at me like I'm a broken person. I'm not the same person as I was. Um, was getting fights with my family and stuff like that, and I was just gonna go walk in the woods and not worry about walking back out. Just be another this person got lost on the trail statistic.
yeah.
Uh, but then I walked in a pretty good fair bit too, man. And I just I was kind of sitting there and decided that it was not what I wanted to do. That I'm still here for a reason, and you know, I decided I was going to start building myself up afterwards. But it's been a long, long road. Like Poland said, man, you gotta go find people to talk to about it. Because if you don't, it's just going to gnaw at you and eat at you and stuff like that. And you know, I go to that Evans Association once a year, man, and I'm a drunken, blubbering mess and stuff like that. But it's good because everyone's a drunken, blubbering mess,
Yeah.
right? And coming from the idea of manhood and everything like that, right? And especially in our high octane positions that we do, right? Policing, fire department, EMS, military, and stuff like that. It's like you go in there and you're just, I think you can attest to this too, Iser, that we went in right after the Iraq deployment and stuff like that. But one of the hardest things is that it's immediately, well, what the fuck have you seen? What the fuck? Who the fuck are you, man? Were you here when we had to like scrape this dude off of the train tracks after a train hit him going 80 miles an hour, or and that gets measured, and it's almost like it's a messed up way of being a pissing match. Like, don't talk to me till your trauma is at my level, man.
Yeah.
and that's probably one of the hardest things to overcome as a man, that we use this as in a high octane personality. We use it as a this is what I've done, instead of using it like, hey, this is a teaching moment, man, and we need to pull you back, and this is how you deal with it. Because I mean, I just barely started getting help probably about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
During about 3 years, right when the Summer of Love was happening in Denver, Colorado. That's helped me through stuff. Now, the one thing I do have to say is that talking about it, someone's going to be healthier than going and getting pills, right? I've been on Prozac for a hot minute now. I can't sleep for shit. I gained weight uncontrollably since being on that, and I'm starting actually to wean myself off of that Prozac because of how much it's thrown my life out of retrograde to where it needs to be.
Yeah. And
so I'm not saying don't stop taking your meds, guys. I'm just saying just
yeah.
Part about it, right?
Yeah, public disclaimer.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're the guy talking about, I got green aliens in my backyard, please take your fucking meds.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm really.
I will say though.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
What I will say is that the one issue that I mean, this is just personal opinion. I don't know if everyone's opinion is like this, but when it comes to getting out, and when we're offline, we're talking about what the military does to kind of fight against the suicide prevention and stuff like that. But when you get out, it seems like the VA, you tell them you have an issue, and the first thing they bring up is, all right, well, we're working on this medication, this medication. It's like, well, no, what can we do to fix this? Oh, well, try this medication. And I'm like, well, but am I going to get addicted to that? Like, and because I know a lot of people who get addicted, and it ends up kind of backfiring. And so I'm like, well, can we try to fix the mental health instead of throwing pills at it at first? Like, can we try other steps first? And the person's like got all offended on the phone from the VA. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Is there someone I can just talk to? Or and that's why I'm all about this Mighty Oaks, and I'm not no paid spokesman or anything. Like, they're just a nonprofit, and they got locations several across the country. And I can't believe how much it changed my life. They had a woman come up and speak, and her husband was, like, I'm not gonna lie, I can't remember what service he was in. I think he was a Marine. He committed suicide, and her story is what really changed me, because I realized the pain that her whole family's in because he took his life. And I think that's something, when I was going through my issues, I never really took that into account. I just was focused on me and stuff. I never really took into account how my family would be suffering if I wasn't here anymore. So, anyways, I just had to give that personal opinion out there about the.
Yeah. And I feel like it's not, for all the viewers, it's not worth taking your life. It's always okay to reach out and talk to somebody, friend, family, your neighbor. But I want to end this with Daniel. Do you have those statistics that you briefed in the first video? Can you go ahead and end the video with going through those statistics for us?
Yeah, and then real quick, man, I just want to say, Robert and Casey, it was great to see you guys. I'm the worst at staying in touch, and I know we haven't spoken since you guys transitioned, but I'm really glad to see you guys here. Thank you guys for sharing your stories, and yeah, I'll say that as far as suicide is concerned, one person commits suicide every 11 minutes, and 80% of those suicides are men. And I think this is Daniel Anderson's opinion, and you guys can speak on this too. But I think that as men, like, we're raised, from little boys to not talk about our emotions, right? Like, we're raised to suck it up. One of our favorite sayings in the Army, right, was "embrace the suck." That's a form of gaslighting. You're gaslighting yourself, right? When you convince yourself that in the worst possible times that everything's fine.
Yeah.
And I send the memes, I laugh at everything, but it's in reality that's what we do, right? Like we're kind of indoctrinated to gaslight ourselves. So we don't talk about it, right? And I think that we need to talk about it more, like you guys have already said. And for you guys, like, sharing your stories, and for all of us talking about this, like, hopefully it has a positive impact on somebody out there that sees this podcast. So
Well, once again, Men's Mental Awareness Month. I want to thank you guys for watching the video. I want to thank you guys as well for stopping by, sharing your stories. I really appreciate that. I'm glad we kind of reconnected through Facebook, and I just created a group, and I was just like, you're joining this podcast or else I'm going to keep on adding you back to this group. So there's no leaving this. And I'm glad, because our busy schedules, I'm glad we're able to, squeeze it in and make time for this and everything. But if I just want to say one more thing, I don't feel like men's mental health is more important than women's. There's always some sort of competition between who matters the most. It's a even across the board. Us as a people need to come together. We need to work together, and we need to help each other out. This is Devin Isaac. This is The Freak Show. Thank you for stopping by. Was that a good ending, guys?
that's good.
Yes, that was amazing.
I'm glad you circled it back to that, because I probably really was like, men at the end. I'm gonna get some hate mail later.
Yeah.
if you didn't say that.
My comments are gonna get blown up in the on Facebook.